Hey, fuckers. And also, fuck it. Let's keep talking about dangerous mindsets. Look, in the trauma literature, corrective experiences are discussed as events that counteract or disprove traumatic events and resulting thought patterns. For instance, if you have been abused by everyone in your family and come to expect that all humans are cruel, untrustworthy, aggressive, then a single positive relationship with a teacher, friends, parent, neighbor, grandparent, etc., can be the protective factor that shields against trauma. Or it can be the experience that rewrites prior thoughts about one's self-worth, hostility towards outsiders, and or relationship expectations. So, corrective experiences are great. They're the way that we continue to evolve and grow past what we've been through, especially for the CPTSD crowd. When you leave behind the environment that originally made you ill, you often naturally start to heal through new experiences, showing you that there are other possibilities. And also, corrective experiences can be ultimately negative if the brain overcorrects or tries to force a correction that isn't being supported by reality. Here's what I mean. Starting with the latter. Sometimes we have what I call half corrective experiences, like a positive relationship outside of the abusive family unit that expands the mind and emotional world until it turns dark or ends for some reason or becomes similarly disappointing. We can start to rewire our minds, believing, hey, maybe people and myself actually aren't all that bad. We can get a bit lost in our white thoughts, even feeling like we've turned a whole new leaf or entered a new chapter of understanding life, maybe even a whole new book. Mania can ensue. Everything is wonderful. What were we upset about before? Thank God that's over now. A new dawn has broken. And then we find out we have a lot of reconsidering to do when all of the eggs that we've just put in that basket get smashed, causing our minds to revert back to prior draft. Humans are cruel. I am the worst, etc. Or causing our minds to sink even lower than before. Not only was I right that humans are cruel and I'm the worst, but I previously had no idea how true those things were. I was a fucking fool for ever thinking otherwise. Now I've had this new round of evidence presented to me, showing me I was right in the first place, and I will never make that fucking mistake again. And then the person completely shuts down into a puddle of their original trauma, but now amplified by feeling as though it has been extra proven correct, feeling that it is truer and worse than before. Examples: winning the lottery, believing life is now fixed, and winding up re-broke or poorer than before and with a lot of challenging social problems. Jumping from relationship to relationship, with each one being the life-changing factor that the individual is tethered to. Jumping from job to job or city to city in the same way. Constantly creating a story of everything being wonderful and then falling into destruction. Having children and finding out, oh, This is actually a lot of not very validating stress, not the me fulfilling experience I had expected. Getting married and same. When we begin to strike out on a new day, a new way of thinking and being, using an untested factor as the cornerstone of that bright and shiny outlook, and then, through finding out our estimations were a bit over the top, getting dragged backwards into the same sort of trauma or a new, novel, horrible experience, it can be more devastating than if the semi positive events never showed up in the first place. Toe dipping experiences that lead to toxic positivity vibes can be very upsetting to our minds and futures. So, beware of half corrective experiences, aka assuming the corrective experience of a lifetime is finally here, and then finding out the hard way. Nah, back to the pits with you. Back in your cage after experiencing freedom, where you'll possibly feel down badder than before, having tasted new experience, hung your life outlook on it, and then lost it all. And let's not pretend that fully corrective experiences aren't a problem either. What? That goes against everything that we're told. Yeah, here's why. They can lead to long-lasting, sustaining toxic positivity that actually makes us less humane in our humanness, less compassionate to others. If life is struggle for you, and then things suddenly start to work out, everything improves, what does the human mind tend to do? No judgment. Celebrate because it is so wonderful it was able to overcome adversity and it was rewarded. This suggests that there's something special about the person or they deserve the improved circumstances. That person tends to estimate. They persevered. They figured it out. And everything is better now. Corrective experience can become an ego issue, one that paints the individual as uniquely equipped or deserving of life improvements. Whereas, say, all the people who are still struggling or observing the darker parts of life, well, they just need to persevere. They need to figure it out and make everything better for themselves, too. Or they just need to stop noticing the difficulties with an inner narrative of, if I can do it, why can't they? The very corrected individual can become a bit of a nightmare. Sometimes they can't just do the same thing because circumstances have not come in and saved that person's ass in the same manner. It happens to some of us. Life organically falls into place, and we leave trauma in the dust, in our past, in easily forgotten history. It doesn't mean that anyone else can expect the same thing. Life is a lot more complicated than do this and you'll earn that. Keep trying and it will work out. Push hard enough and then you won't have to push ever again. Your childhood was just your childhood. Become an adult and you will outgrow the challenges. No, it's simply false. It's not the case for everyone. For many of us, early life trauma is just the beginning. But after a full corrective experience, people can fall into patterns of thinking akin to Christian prosperity proselytizing. I escaped trauma because I deserve it. And they can even forget about that early trauma experience altogether, as if the struggle never happened, as if other people aren't still going through it and never have. Post-corrective experience, people can turn two blind eyes to the uncorrected experiences of others. Examples: people who are raised poor but get rich and then disparage the poor. People who come from abuse find a white knight who takes over their life, aka someone who's abusive in ways that don't bother them, and then go on to preach marriage from the rooftops as though that resolves issues for everybody. People who come to understand an aspect of their traumatized selves as they happen to come into good fortune around that time, and then push their methods on everyone as the quick fix. And religious rebirthers. Look, all of this, great for them, as long as conditions continue to be favorable. Except it often makes them a far worse human being. A narcissist in the realm of thinking patterns. And should things ever be challenging again, then there's a good chance that person will have a covert narcissism response to it, an entitled round of estimated victimhood. But I was supposed to be taken care of from now on. Life was never supposed to be difficult for me again. Cue the bitterness and resentment. Which I do think is a significant explanation for covert narcissism in general. Watch for it, especially in your elder matrilineage, who act as if they became queens at some point, and then listen to their reasoning about why. Perhaps you'll see this too. Learn from who you don't want to be, understand the mental workings that got them there, and you'll understand how maybe a once wonderful, down-to-earth, struggle-bound human has managed to become less grounded through their lofty position post-life corrective experience. So, fuckers, yay, corrective experiences. None of us want to be marred by the weight of what has come before us, to lug that baggage around forever. Change is always possible, and suggests that our story isn't signed, sealed, and delivered just because of our original circumstances. But we, one, don't want to expect corrective experiences. We might end up attached to yet another sinking ship while calling it our new yacht. This can encourage us to set off on faraway, poorly fated sea journeys, putting us in greater danger and creating grander water phobias when the vessel eventually goes down. We don't want to forget where we came from or the fact that we can return to those circumstances. And two, we don't want to assign morality or value to corrective experiences, painting us as special or somehow extra deserved if we encounter them, encouraging us to separate from the rest of the beings who might still be going through the same anti-corrective experiences of struggle. These mental but very logical missteps are ways that we ultimately end up more traumatized, more shut down, putting barriers between ourselves and others, sometimes ending in narky ways of thinking that transmit more trauma, setting new individuals up for distant hopes of corrective experiences in their own lives in order to recover from the aftermath of wars. Hmm. Gray tones, fuckers. Everything is horrible and kind of awesome. Potentially life-changing and potentially more of the same. Aim for neutral, positive views. Don't get too high on your life experiences. You might come crashing back down. And or accidentally become the force that diminishes others who haven't had their own corrective experiences yet. And that is the short and skinny continued bonus on 2 positive mindsets as potential danger points. Cheers, y'all.